welcome to another battle report from the playersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today we're playing Battlegroup. We're playing in 15mm, and this is World War II, and we're playing from the Overlord Beyond the Beaches book. So we're going to do Germans against British, and this is going to be an attack-counter-attack scenario. So the board's going to be divided in two diagonally, and we will have, coming in from opposing corners, Reiki units from each side, and then they'll be bringing on forces, and they'll be fighting over 4 objectives which will be placed on the map, and we'll kind of go over those, where those get placed. But we're going to do 400 points per side. I'll be playing solitaire, so if there's things like off-board artillery and timed things, I'll set up a system to make those work properly. But let's go down to the different battle groups, and I'll walk you through the forces. So here's the German force. This is 398 points, and remember we've got a 400 point limit. So our battle group consists of, the main part of it is a Panzer, an armoured Panzer Grenadier platoon, which we have the command section here, the command squad. And they're mounted in a Hanomag, which is SDK episode 251. This is a 10, but yeah, I've got it as a 2511 just because that's the model that I have. So there's 6 men in that. They count as having the officer and the mortar spotter. Mostly these are going to be used. You get an extra command out of them, but I'm using them as the mortar spotter because I took them off board in this one. The main bulk of the platoon are the Panzer Grenadier squads. So each of the squads has 5 riflemen in it, again mounted in Hanomags. 2 of the squads took Panzerfausts. That adds an extra 5 points each. And then we've got 3 of the MG teams as well. And one of them I upgraded for an extra 4 points to an MG42. So it's just got a bit more firepower to it. So that's that. Didn't take any extra machine guns within the teams. You can switch out a couple of the riflemen for another MG34, but it gets really expensive if you start doing that. So this is the core of the battle group. In support of the platoon, I took another heavy machine gun. I think that was something like 18 or points or something like that, but then I upgraded it to an MG42 as well because we want that extra firepower. So that brings us to about 201 points with just this bulk. For recon, I took 2 recon units. I've got a scout sniper with a spotter gives them a little bit of extra range, and then a Puma as well. Hopefully want to use some wheels, kind of move across the battlefield quickly, maybe take some objectives early with that, give us a bit of maneuverability. And then the other big bad boy here is we took a Panther, it's a Panther G in this instance. That took up a lot of the rest of the points. He's worth 90 points, but I think he's going to give us some tanking staying power. All the rest of the points are locked up in an off-board 80mm mortar barrage. And then, so that's these mortar spotters, they're going to drop that at some point, hopefully. And then I've also got a timed 105mm howitzer barrage as well. So that's going to trigger at some point. I'll write down what turn and where that's going to hit, so we'll see how that goes. But that's the German forces, now on to the British. So here's a look at the British forces. The main bulk of it is a motor rifle platoon. And I know I've got paras, they're just infantry. I'm not going to paint up a whole other set of units for this. So we have the platoon command mounted in an M5. They have 2 regular rifleman leaders, and then they have a 2-inch mortar with them. Then there are 3 motor rifle sections. So it's 8 men, 2 of which use a Bren. And the Bren team, there's a rule where they can separate and become a separate unit. So there's 3 of those. They also, as support extras for them, I took a heavy machine gun. I then also mounted it in a Bren carrier as well, so they'll be a bit more mobile.
And we also took a 6-pounder anti-tank gun. We added a 3-man loader team, and we gave them a Lloyd carrier to tow, so again, some mobility there. That's the core of what we've got here. We do also have, I took an extra carrier rifle section as well. So we've got a carrier rifle team, which is here, just regular riflemen. We have a carrier Pltn team, so it's a Pltn with a couple of loaders. And then this is another 2-inch mortar team. I don't have another 2-inch model, so I gotta paint one of those. So it's substituted for a Pltn, but this is a 2-inch mortar team, each again in Bren carriers. Then for heavy weapons support, we have an M10 Wolverine and an M10 Achilles with a 17-pounder for more punch. And then the last thing we have are 2 recon units. We have a recon carrier rifle section and a scout sniper, so they can start on the board. And I got him a spotter as well. So that's the British. They don't have any off-board support or anything like that. So we'll see how that plays out. They do have a 31 battle rating. The Germans only had like a 21 or something. So they have a significant battle rating advantage. They have more units, but they don't have any of the off-board heavy fire support or any air support or anything like that. So we'll see how that plays out, if that makes a big difference. So welcome to the end of turn 1. The Germans had the first turn, and they came on from this side of the map. They were able to bring on their recce units. So you can see they brought that Puma forward. They started with this objective. Then they started with the sniper in that woods, brought them forwards, claimed that objective, and we got those guys into an ambush phase as well. That's basically what happened. So we claimed a couple objectives, forced the British to claim a couple tokens, and the British recon units, we had our little squad come on here, jumping out of their recon carrier, and then I got a sniper squad in that building, the white building. So they were able to claim the objective by the hedge there, which is kind of on the crossroads. We had to move it just offset of the crossroads so that it might be easier to hang on to with the cover of the hedges, and also helps with, I don't know, keeping it less clogged, and it's 10 inches away from the other ones. So we're going to bring on the British from the back corner, and this south-west corner the Germans are going to come on. And it's going to be a lot of fierce fighting over these 2 objectives immediately. And we've got trying to set up some fields of fire from the units that are already on here. So what we'll do is I'll wrap up here and see you at the end of turn 2. So here we are at the end of turn 2. The Germans have the initiative, so they took the first half of the turn, and they rolled a 6 for their reinforcements. So they brought on a lot of units. So they brought on, we have 2 down here, 2 half-tracks which have rifle squads in them. They brought on an MG42 tripod. They brought on a Panther who double moved up to this hedge to take care of that corner. And they brought on their forward HQ, which is the green one, well, the platoon HQ, I should say, and another rifle squad into these fire sets that we're going to set up kind of a defensive perimeter field of fire over here. And there's also some good spotting for the off-board mortar from the platoon HQ. These guys we're going to unload, have some firefights here. I was going to attempt to drive over and fight over this white building, which is an objective, but their decisions might change now at this point. Now the Panther's fairly slow, was able to move up, because at the first turn there was nothing really for them to shoot at. I don't want to waste their singular high explosive shell they brought firing at that little recon squad, so they just moved up. That's basically all. They didn't have that many orders, so the Pumas just kind of sat there, and the not ready to get the sniper out of being pinned at the moment, not drawing a battle counter for that. British then rolled a 2 for their reinforcements. So they brought on the Wolverine over here, drove it from the rear of the building. Thought about double moving up the road, but instead took a pot shot at the Puma. Unfortunately, I was one off. They missed. We did bring in one of the rifle sections. The M5 half-track drove down the road, unloaded, and the rifle squad basically hopped over the wall and ran into this barn here. So they're all in there. We do have our scout sniper in the white building holding the objective. He took a couple pot shots, was unable to sniper down here, so not really doing much there. And they had a very small amount of orders, so not a whole lot going on, particularly there. So I'm probably gonna have to move up the Wolverine to get into some better engagements here before we get outgunned by the Panther. And hopefully they can bring more guys on the board, but this is a significant German force. If they can roll well for their orders, British might be in trouble just being overwhelmed by the numbers at this point. So we'll see you beginning or the end of next turn. So welcome to the end of turn 3. We had a significant amount of drama this turn. So the Germans didn't have any reinforcements to bring on the board because they're all already on the board. Some of them mounted in half-track still, but everything's already out. They only rolled a few commands though. They tried to make the best of it, and we'll take a little look here. So the first thing that happened was the timed off-board mortar barrage went off. So we had 80mm mortar barrage, preset target on the White House. It went off and it was pretty intense. There was the sniper with the spotter in the building. The spotter was killed outright. The sniper got pinned. It pinned the half-track that was outside. And then this Bren carrier, which was over here at the time, also avoided the pin. That was very, very lucky. So it caused some disruption there. Outside of that, these two half-tracks advanced. The first one dumped its passengers. So we had the MG team kind of jumped out into the orchard and sat down here, started tried to suppress the British units that are in this barn. The rifle team, the rifle squad, they assaulted the building, and in doing so, they killed the sniper, but it was a pretty fierce firefight, and they themselves were pinned and were unable to get into the building. And we laid down some fire with the MG on the second Hanomag, but they still have their passengers intact in there. The Panther took a couple of shots at the Wolverine that was all the way back here, was in front of the building at the time. Totally missed both shots. It was an absolute disaster for the Panther. We had these half tracks moved up into these woods on the edge. This one emptied out the forward command, which has the mortar spotter. So next round, hopefully, we'll have enough commands that we can bring in an aimed mortar barrage as well. And then at the time, the Puma kind of swung out. I was trying to eliminate the Bren carrier that was right here, and in doing so, tried to clear out this objective and take that. But they missed also, and it was a disaster, as you can see how that ended up. The British, then on the other hand, rolled 6 for their reinforcements, so they got a bunch of guys on the board, as you can kind of see here. And they also rolled 10 total orders, so they had a lot of stuff to play around with. The first thing they did, we brought on so we've got the Wolverine over here. He moved, and we'll get to him in a second. But the Achilles came on, blew up the Puma. I mean, it's short range with a 17-pounder. It didn't go very well for the Puma.
took a shot at the Panther and missed. We had a couple of half-tracks right up this road. Here, they laid fire on the this little 34 down here. Killed the extra loader. Oh, the Wasp. The Wasp came on, drove up. There is a German team in here. Which, okay, the German team was from the Second Hand. They just got out and bailed and ran in there. That German team got flamed by the Wasp's flamethrower. Took out a couple guys, pinned the rifle squad. The MG team in there is okay though. So that was pretty intense. This Bren carrier that was here drove up down the road and laid fire on these guys who were already pinned from the infantry close assault. Took a couple of them out. They passed their morale check, but things pretty hairy for them. This half-track... we had Lloyd carrier towing a 6-pounder, just double moved onto the board, trying to set up in a position where we can lay down. Well, in theory, they were going to lay down their 6-pounder here on these. Mr. Wolverine over here. So he was parked directly in front of the building with no cover. He moves around, takes cover, and so he took one shot. And it's about 28 inches, so he had to roll really, really well. He rolled a 6 to hit after he spotted, and then he rolled a 10 on his armor penetration, which is exactly what he needed. He needed a 10, and all that did was pin it. So we got the pin marker, and then that forces a morale check, and the crew failed the morale check on a 1. So they then abandoned this, the Panther as well and ran away. So it's got this little black cube, it's kind of disabled, it's abandoned, counts as destroyed. So that was a pretty big disaster for the Germans. They don't have any more big guns particularly. Lost both of their armoured units. We do have one more 80mm barrage, which is coming from off map that the platoon command section can call in, but other than that, we're down to infantry. A lot of heavy machine guns left, but this could be anyone's game, but the loss of the armour might be very telling, because now I think their smaller battle rating, they had a 21 battle rating, they've already pulled a lot of their battle rating chits, and right now their battle rating is 5. They already have an 8, so they're over 3/4 of the way before they break. So that's turn 3. It's pretty wild. I thought the British were absolutely done for at the beginning of this turn, and they rolled really well on their orders and really well on their reinforcements. And then lucky shot from that Wolverine really has turned the tides. So we'll see if they can kind of gather their forces and then sweep up here and see what happens. So here's the table at the end of turn... Well, it's the end of the game, but it's basically the end of turn 4. The British managed to pull out a win in fairly dramatic style. Turn 3 was a massive, massive momentum swing where they were able to bring in a lot of reinforcements, use a lot of orders. And the loss of that Panther and the Puma were a big, big deal, because the Germans were trying to take this objective and then swing around with a lot of infantry. They close assaulted this building. There's still a couple of Germans left in there that have to pull out, and the Hanomaks pull back a little bit. But basically, what happened in turn 4, it was a lot of bad luck. So we have our platoon HQ in the edge of the forest there. They attempted to call in an 80mm mortar barrage from off table. This was the little spot around, and at the time there was a recon infantry team, rifle team right there by this objective. So basically wherever it was going to land, it was probably going to do some significant damage and pin a lot of units, but they were
the communications check failed. So I guess next time I'll be bringing wire teams and forward HQs, things like that, to help with the communications. Because they failed that, so the barrage never came, which was a pretty bad omen for that turn. The Germans then pulled a Hanomag from the woods, drove up to the barn, unloaded a team. And this rifle squad did a good job. They fired into this barn. There's an infantry team in there, a rifle team. They knocked out half the team and pinned it, but were unable to get them to rout off the board. But, there was some good shape there. There's an MG42 tripod in here. Well, there was. They opened fire. There was a team, a rifle team, a British rifle team out in the open here. Completely eliminated them. And this little MG34 was laying down some suppressing fire in here. So they were, I don't know, they were doing okay for what they had. And I then pulled a chit to unpin everyone. We moved up our little other MG42 tripod over here, which I was going to intend to use as sweeping fire, but we never got that far. Then it came to the British turn. I basically just ran out of units. The Germans had some spare orders left, but just couldn't employ anything. Oh, I guess the recon infantry team that was there, they were gunned down by the Hanomag. They had some pretty lucky rolls. This guy right here laid down some sweeping fire with his pintle-mounted MG. But yeah, then it flipped over to the British, and basically with the rally chit pull the Germans pulled, they just had really bad battle markers that they pulled, because the Wasp here just opened up with their last flamethrower shot, completely eliminated the MG42 team that was in the top of this building here. They've just nothing left of them. And then this little Brin, this M9. He kind of pulled up around the building, and there was half a squad left that had been pinned and just got unpinned, and he eliminated them. But I drew a 4 and a 3 for the battle chits, so the game ended on that. So this is a look at the battle chits and what we ended up with. So the British ended up with a 12, and the Germans had 21. But just across the board, the numbers were massive. I've never... normally you're getting lots of 1s. Sometimes you get some 2s, just from the makeup of the chip bag. This was kind of a crazy game in that sense. It ended very quickly. You can see there's a lot of units left on the board, especially for the British. But on top of that, the British did have more units and a much larger battle rating. I think their forces were 31 and the Germans was 21. But I think if I could have got that artillery barrages to go, could have swung the tide. Losing the Panther just on the luckiest of shots was, a huge stroke of fortune, because if that hadn't happened, the Panther then knocks out maybe 1 or 2 of the anti-tank guns, the self-propelled Wolverine and Achilles, and starts picking off all the different open top half tracks. Could have been a different story, but either way, having a blast playing this, playing it solo. So appreciate you guys tuning in, and I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.